Welcome back to the MacGuffin Movie Club. Today is December 23rd, 2023, and it is 104 days away from April 5th, which is the re-release of The People's Joker. My name is Dylan Olive. I'm here with co-host Keaton Keats.
Hello.
Hey. And that's very exciting, and it seems that not a lot of people on Twitter know what that is.
No,
are you familiar with this?
Oh yeah, I've been following it since the TIFF thing. Yeah, I'm very excited for it. I'm a big fan of Vera Drew and what she's done on like Comedy Bang Bang and Tim and Eric. So
yeah, I know very little about it besides basically just the plot synopsis. But for any listeners who aren't familiar, it's like a I guess like a fan film. Sort of with using characters from Batman, like the Joker, about kind of nonsense, like a trans Joker and other Batman characters, and it's like I know Tim Heidecker is involved.
Yeah, Tim Heidecker's involved. From what I know, it is basically a remake of the Joker movie that is also an autobiographical retelling of her coming out as a trans woman and then in the industry, because she was a comedian, or she is a comedian, but going up that. So it's it's a lot of stuff colliding at once.
Yeah, that's I'm surprised that it's getting any sort of release still, given how thin its marketing seems to be. But I'm very happy about that. I'm glad for it. Speaking of Joker, though, it's the end of the DC cinematic universe. Finally, they put out Aquaman 2, and that's it. And there's nothing more to be done with it, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know who's too sad about that. I mean, I guess Zack Snyder people.
Yeah, I only ended up seeing 4 of them. One of which was the Suicide Squad. So I feel the other one, Wonder Woman was okay. Suicide Squad I thought was pretty great. And then I saw Man of Steel and Batman v Superman when they came out because I was 13 or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I fucking hope that just whatever they do next. I mean, the bar is really low at this point.
Extremely
I feel like
low.
they can get away with anything. I don't have, I guess, a lot to say about that, but
no, I don't either. I mean,
it seems pretty relevant to a movie-going experience because Aquaman 2 did bomb both critically and financially, even worse than The Flash, I think.
It came out?
Yeah.
Wow. I thought it was next week. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's it's not great, and it's not even the kind of funny bad, So I'm and then Jason Momoa's next movie is going to be Minecraft,
which
I don't know when that comes out, next year or.
I feel like they've said it's going to come out next year for 5 years running at this point.
Yeah,
I don't know how realistic that movie releasing is.
Yeah, but I know when we get a trailer, it'll be just all over the fucking internet. Okay, here's one that. Very different tone shift. The other, another big trailer release was for Alex Garland's next film, Civil War, which just off the bat, I want to ask you what you think of him as a filmmaker and this trailer.
So I have not seen any of the movies he's directed. I have seen Sunshine, which he wrote, and I feel like maybe one other movie that he wrote.
Is she 28 Days Later?
I have not seen 28 Days Later.
Okay, yeah, you wrote that one.
Yeah. I think Sunshine is the only one for sure that I've looked at through him as a filmmaker. And I know people on the internet have very strong opinions on him. I don't really have opinions one way or another. I think Sunshine's great. But that's really the extent of my relationship with him.
Yeah, just having seen 28 Days Later, Annihilation, and Men, in my mind, he's batting 2 for 3. I thought Men was kind of mediocre, but not terrible.
Yeah.
It feels like everybody on Twitter is super reactionary about directors like him or Taika Waititi who make a bad movie, and then in their mind they're just a terrible director. But it's I don't know. I feel like I'd give more leniency to this. I'm not as immediately opposed, and a lot of people are saying that the concept of of Texas and California being like the two biggest states to like recede from America is stupid, and it's like maybe, but I also haven't seen the movie. There's one person on Twitter who said that like including things about shooting journalists on site and airstriking civilians is like distasteful because that's happening in real life in Gaza, and it's happening to people, but like I don't see why that would be an issue. I feel like that's just social commentary.
I didn't love that trailer. I don't think it looks out. I think it looks kind of low budget, but I think that feels like such a stretch. Like,
don't get me wrong. I'm not like hyped for this movie, but it doesn't seem like the kind of thing to be super mad about.
Yeah, it looks like
put energy
fine.
Towards.
It doesn't seem like there's enough to hate there. I think the only area that does annoy me is like I think British people doing social commentary on America is just really fraught. Like it's not a good idea, but
didn't know he was British.
Yeah. Which I think is where like half the malice is coming from, but then the other half is just I think Twitter people being annoying. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like if you're gonna do social commentary, you should probably include visceral things that are actually happening in real life, like not.
Yeah, it would feel like way more toothless and like weak if it didn't have any, like if it's about war. I don't know, it's very straightforward. I guess we'll see how that plays out. It'll get a bunch of buzz regardless. I don't know, it'll probably be some sort of success. Yeah, it's whatever. I don't know, there are other movies that are coming out to be excited for. Ridley Scott will direct Bomb for 20th Century Studios, which it was about a hostage in London, and there's a bomb. That's great. He's doing his thing, I guess.
Yeah, I think he'll die before he stops making movies. I don't know.
Probably.
He's
Didn't he throw some shade at like Scorsese for being like, whatever, you're old, I'm gonna go make another movie?
Yeah, I think he did. Well, I forget what the exact quote. It was funny. I can never, like, his quotes are always so snarky and like grumpy. I don't know.
Yeah, he's certainly a cranky old man.
You gotta love him for it.
Yeah. For other upcoming releases, there's a live action My Hero Academia series in the works, because of course there is, I guess. So thanks Netflix. I guess they're going like fully all in with live action anime adaptations, which is lame and boring and I'm not fond of. But what I am very cautiously excited for is another thing that I know you won't care about, is a new One Piece adaptation that's called The One Piece, and it'll be animated by Wit Studios. And I guess the idea is that they're gonna like make it but like good, and like not okay. Like Toei, because Toei is, when they were making it, obviously it was started in the 90s, and it's kept going with like not really seasons as much as just like new episodes constantly. So lots of filler and lots of bad pacing and lots of bad animation. And of course there's like good animated bits here and there, especially with Wano, which is like the most recent arc that's been adapted. But regardless, that makes me kind of excited, but very, very, very cautious because Wit Studio is sort of shaky. They've made some really good things, but then also like their adaptation of the last couple seasons of Attack on Titan were kind of iffy. Especially, and then also they handed off Vinland Saga to Mappa, and then also Netflix with their releases. I have no idea, because when they released Stone Ocean, that like nobody was excited for, even though it was the next JoJo part, because they don't know how to. There's like basically nothing besides the fact that this exists, which is what I've always wanted, and it's just like. It's god damn it, I'm so scared because it'll probably be kind of bad, but I so hope that it's not, because there could be so many people who can get into the series because of this.
Yeah, if it's good, I will probably watch this, because that's awesome. I tried starting One Piece once and it was just too intimidating.
Yeah, god damn it, that manga is so goated. It's probably ending in the next like 3 to 4 years anyway. Whatever. Oh god damn it, it's so good. Japanese video game auteur Hideo Kojima is making a Death Stranding film that'll be produced by A24. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. He's not directing
it, I think, or at least not confirmed that he's directing it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't say anything about him directing it, but that's pretty fascinating. He's also got something in the works with Jordan Peele that is like a cross between film and video games.
Yeah, with Hunter Schafer and then Sophia Lillis, I think her name is.
Mm-hmm. So that'll be something interesting. He's like one of the only true like video game auteurs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've been binge playing Metal Gear recently, and it's like,
that's awesome.
He's so incredible. There's like, what's the guy who did Heavy Rain? I feel like he's the only other one I can think of. And
that guy. Human,
yeah. But I don't think anyone likes him. Like that's the difference.
Who's the person who made Limbo and Inside?
Oh.
That person's pretty cool little indie developer. Yeah. I forget.
And then there's like Toby Fox and people like that. But so they're definitely like auteurs.
Hell, even like Shigeru Miyamoto, who did like, Animal Crossing and Pikmin and Mario.
Zelda.
There just tends to be less like specific vision artists in video games because it takes like more people spending more time compared to films.
And I also think Kojima is one of the few people who understands the difference in medium of video games so well. Like, the way he uses tedium and like typical like negative emotions is just so unlike what other people do who are auteurs, who either go like, well, this is like an interactive movie, or this is going to be just as fun as possible. Like he really understands the medium on a different level and has the resources to do interesting things with it.
Yeah, totally. It's so that's very exciting. Don't really have as much to say though, because I still haven't played like any of the Silent Hill games or whatever. But also, speaking of A24, they will be making a film directed by Benny Safdie, starring Dwayne Johnson.
Yes,
which follows him as an MMA fighter. The plot synopsis sort of just sounds like The Wrestler or like that type of character study. So that'll be exciting to actually see him in a movie for the first time, because I don't think I've seen him in anything besides like maybe Moana.
But Moana, he's just playing himself.
Yeah, basically. That is like his thing.
I've seen a few of his movies. Like, I don't like him at all, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I think there is like a charisma and there's something there, and I love the Safdies as filmmakers, not as people.
Yeah.
Have you watched The Curse?
Not yet. I will before next episode, though, for sure.
It's so good, and it makes me excited that... Because, one, I think the Safdies would kill a boxing movie, even if it is just Benny Safdie. And
sure, yeah.
Two, I think that's a perfect director to use The Rock and convince him that he's doing what he wants to do instead of... And, kind of tricking him into a good performance instead of having yes men, because I doubt The Rock would want to actually put himself out there.
Yeah, because, he's just... He puts himself in the roles of movies to just, basically be one character at all points. To, just sort of stay with the persona that he has that's successful, I think if any single actor became a politician at this point, I would place my bet on it being Dwayne Johnson.
Oh, 100%. I mean, he already answers red carpet questions like he is a politician. And he in that movie... Red Notice, which is an awful movie, one of the worst movies.
Yeah, I never saw it.
I've watched it against my will.
Cool.
There was he just has his tequila brand prominently featured in every shot, and I'm pretty sure he part owns a watch brand and his character has it or something in every single thing. He's like a brand. He's not really an actor.
So energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, very. So that at least piques my interest.
For sure. And there's also Josh Safdie movie with Adam Sandler and sports car trading, which is going to be interesting too.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing where they go as directors separately, since their first two were their first couple were together. I still never saw Daddy Longlegs. I should see that one.
I should too.
It's quite good.
Yeah. The Pleasure Being Robbed, I think Josh Safdie did himself, but that's a super mumblecore
Oh, okay.
Annoying, from what I've heard, annoying movie.
Yeah. Kind of just art house trying too hard.
Yeah, like Duplass Brothers type stuff.
Nice. Okay, yeah. There are a couple more like upcoming things. One of which is Fallout series, which I mentioned earlier on other episodes. It's starring Kyle MacLachlan, which is or not starring him. It's starring a woman, which I'm sure gamers will be very normal about and not sexist at all. But like he has a prominent role, which is interesting because I haven't seen him act in anything recently. I can't think of anything, at least.
Yeah, I feel like the last thing I remember seeing him in was probably Portlandia.
Oh, I didn't know he was in
He's the mayor, yeah. He's like a semi-regular. He's been in stuff. He never stops working, but like nothing major.
I think, because like the last project that I can think of him being in was like Twin Peaks: The Return, but like, I don't know. That'll be interesting. The trailer seems to have like a not lighthearted tone, but like not super serious tone. So it looks at least like it'll probably be better than the Halo series. But who knows? I don't have like a super strong connection to Fallout. I think it's all really interesting though. I think there's a lot of potential for good storytelling in that world.
So much. Yeah, I tried New Vegas a while ago and I just couldn't get into it. I
tried New Vegas. It was too hard. Yeah, I give up. Whatever, it's like Transfem Passage of Right, I guess. Yeah. For other news, here's a fun oxymoron. The live-action Legend of Zelda movie is going to be inspired by Studio Ghibli, which is like, I don't know why that would be possible. I did actually say that on a previous episode. I literally said that would be the best option, but it's going to be live-action.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell it's going to like have, really creative things going on. It's not going to be like this light on plot sort of, cool atmosphere thing. It's gonna be rough. Because they're not gonna actually. What they should do is they should say Mario is the franchise that everyone enjoys, and Zelda is kind of the more niche one, even though it's not niche, but like compared to Mario. So let's go and make a better movie, but they're not gonna do that because they want a demographic. I don't think Zelda works in live action. Like I don't see a world where it doesn't look silly. Yeah, like having a giant like 7'6" green man with a big fucking red mane and it's like the high fantasy things, having like a Midna type character, having all the like I don't know, maybe if it was fucking like the same quality of Lord of the Rings, but whatever.
But at that point, it's not even Zelda. There's no whimsy.
Yeah. There's no whimsy.
There's no whimsy.
Oh, here's something else. Bruce Campbell confirms that more Evil Dead movies are coming, which I don't think necessarily surprises anyone, but he says in a quote, more like every 2 to 3 years now rather than every 10, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say concerning. It makes sense that they would want to. I guess the last one was semi-successful, or at least successful enough. It makes sense that they would want to, franchise this.
Yeah, people liked the last one.
Yeah, I didn't ever see the two new ones.
I didn't either. The 2010 reboot, I think they said the same thing, and then it took them 10 years.
There's a 2010 reboot?
Or 2013.
Yeah.
And then it took them 10 years to make another one, so who knows. Mm-hmm. But, I don't know. If it's not Sam Raimi making them, I'm not super interested. And I don't want to be that type of fan, but like so much of the charm of those movies is him as a director, not necessarily like the style, like not like the creatures or anything. Like it's the voice of this franchise.
Hey guys, editing Dylan here, just to tell you that I lost about 15 minutes of audio that we recorded. We talked about Poor Things and we both really like it. And that was basically it. Anyway, now we started talking about Saltburn, so I'm just going to cut back into that now. Thank you. Sorry.
It's a movie. I've never seen a movie with the lack of dramatic tension like a Saltburn. Like, it's a movie that tells you exactly how it's going to play out and then moves like you don't know what's going to happen next. So, it's just a terribly written movie. 2, there's a scene, not to spoil it, but I'm going to spoil it. There's a scene where a character where two characters have sex and one of them is on their period. And it's meant to be this like really shocking, grotesque thing, which is a weird tone to have because it's like trying to pose itself as this progressive movie. But they don't commit to it being shocking enough, and they color grade the scene blue. So like you can't. This is a gross thing to say, but you can't see blood. Like you can't. It doesn't go all the way. It restrains itself.
Yeah.
It feels like it's so teetering. It's like laughing. Like look how edgy we are. Even though it's just such a. It feels like it's only meant to shock people who are easily shocked and not people who are actually.
Yeah, good. I felt the same thing with. I felt the same thing about like the bathtub scene where it's like it's kind of hard, like it is kind of hard to see. It's like you get the concept there, but it's not like as an image. I don't know if I'm just like a depraved pervert who watches horrible things all the time, but it didn't really like I wasn't like, you know, looking away from the screen that I feel like I should be. You know, I wasn't like groaning or laughing the same way that some other that a movie like Blue Velvet might make me feel, you know?
Right. Or a movie like even this year, a movie that I don't love, but Beau's Afraid, like that movie goes like for it. Yeah. And I like that. Yeah. Like in a way that is actually like pretty, or like Pink Flamingos. Which is obviously extreme, but you know.
I love Pink Flamingos. That's the best. Worth talking about at some point.
Yeah,
for sure. Think, or something from from Waters.
Yeah, and like Female Troubles, I still need to see. So
I haven't seen that one.
But yeah, so I just think Saltburn it's also like weirdly classist. There's a midway point in the movie where like they just kind of are like get rid of any any wrongdoing from the upper crust family and just kind of like put it all on the character who's middle class. And there's like a weird thing where they're using like queer sexuality for shock value. I don't know. Did not like that movie at all. Anyway, that's my Saltburn.
Yeah, straight up, it just feels complicated and convoluted rather, and bloated, and doesn't really say anything. Well, like you know, it's a shell of a movie. I'd say like light 5 out of 10 probably, because like I didn't hate it. I was at least drawn to the screen still. I wasn't like bored by it necessarily, even though it wasn't paced the best. The ending was hilarious to me. I don't know if I was supposed to think that was like shocking, because it's like this Shyamalanian like Park Chan-wook type twist where it like the whole thing, it like flips the whole movie on its head, and then like the final shot is it's kind of hilarious, and I at least appreciated that.
Is the best part.
It left me with something to think about.
The twist, the Park Chan-wook reveal of the twist is so funny because it's like, I thought that was supposed to be known the entire time. Like it didn't feel like that was I don't know, but yeah, it's a weird movie, and not in the way I think it wants to be.
Yeah, strange movie, wouldn't recommend, but I guess a lot of people like it, so I don't know, maybe it's like a lot of people's like first foray into like art house cinema, or like, you know, first look into something that's not like super safe, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As for other new releases, anyway, 5 out of 10, I'll say. I don't have anything else to say about Saltburn.
Yeah, I'm leaning 4 out of 10 probably.
The other new review the new film that I wanted to talk about was The Holdovers, because this is around Christmas time. This episode will be out around the holidays, around New Year's, by Alexander Payne, whose previous films I've enjoyed, Election and Sideways. I didn't see his other movies, but I like those ones. This movie
not seen any of them. I watched like the first 10 minutes of Nebraska on a plane, and then I was like, I couldn't hear anything, so I watched something else.
You would probably enjoy his other films that I've seen.
I've been wanting to get to them for a while.
But The Holdovers, for me, I found to be a nice thing to look at, with a good, you know, lead performances from the main 3 actors. Really nice design, and like not really anything else, because okay, like maybe what was it, like a week ago now, I just rewatched Tokyo Godfathers, which is my favorite Christmas movie, and it's by Satoshi Kon, so of course I'm gonna love it. But that movie is like a Christmas film about like 3 homeless people, one of which stabbed their father, one of which had a gambling addiction, and later in the film like gets beat up, one of which is a trans ex-stripper who potentially has AIDS. A woman tries to kill herself and then tries to chop suey a baby, and it's like, holy shit. And it's like, so that's kind of a lot of spoilers, but like you'll still like the movie if you watch it. But anyway, my point is just that in that movie, it's like these lost souls finding each other feels like really impactful because the world feels really gritty and dark, and it's like, and also, obviously, it's just directed by Satoshi Kon and has beautiful animation. Whereas in the Holdovers, it's like so normal. And it's like the teenage boy is just a teenage boy. And the old man is just an old man. And this single mom is, or not mom, but like this, you know, a widowed woman is a widowed woman. And like, I just didn't find a lot.
Her son.
Or not widowed, divorced. Correction, yeah. But anyway, I just didn't find a lot in this movie.
Her son died, so she wasn't.
Yeah, it just... I don't know. I decently enjoyed it, but like it was over 2 hours, and I was kind of just like, yeah, okay. Like every line of dialogue and every plot point felt like I knew what they were doing, and I wasn't as in love with it as I wish I was. But I know that you enjoyed it more than me, so I would like to hear your like take on it.
So I agree with almost everything you said, but also I love Harold and Maude.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I haven't seen that one yet.
I love Cat Stevens and all that like 70s sappy, sad type stuff. So like,
yeah,
having that with Paul Giamatti as a psychopath, that with a heart of gold and like all this stuff, like it's just kind of right up. It's like candy.
Sure.
So I think it's, you know, far from like a perfect movie, but it feels so cozy in so many ways. And like, I think there is some interesting stuff, especially in the third act with the main character's dad, not to spoil anything, but I think that was probably the most original choice it made. And even then it's not like super crazy or anything, but like there's something just really cozy about that, like that kind of simple 70s New Hollywood type movie to me, and especially when it's like a pastiche of it with great character actors.
Yeah, honestly, I'm surprised I wasn't like annoyed at any of the like very clear inspirations with the color grading and with the soundtrack and with the directing, because like I enjoyed it all, and it felt like earnest and like a love letter to that type of movie, and not just like it's ripping it off, you know.
Yeah, I was a little worried that it was gonna look like he put a film grain pack over it, but he did actually shoot on film, and like it does. I think the titles are optically printed. Like there is some level of like authenticity.
Nice.
To the movie, which I think prevents it from feeling too shoehorned in.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, it's a movie that this one I definitely would recommend to my grandparents. This one, I think any grandparents would definitely love. Who doesn't love Paul Giamatti?
It's a super grandparent movie. Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's no way someone could hate Paul Giamatti for sure.
He's an American treasure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just a little disappointed from seeing this after his last couple movies, but I didn't, overtly like really dislike it. I just hesitate to see it again, I guess. I wouldn't just like put it on for any holiday the same way I would with like Home Alone or something.
Right. Do you, other than Tokyo Godfathers, do you have any alt Christmas movies that you want to recommend?
I've heard that Black Christmas is very good. I've never seen that one, but I've heard very good things about it.
Good.
Klaus is
Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh yeah, well,
is the classic. Yeah.
That's that one is good. I just watched. This one's not really like underground, but I did just watch It's a Wonderful Life for the first time, and that one is definitely one of the best.
I'll probably watch that in the next few days. I need to get around to that.
Yeah, that one's worth it, I think. Besides like a really weird opening, but you'll see what I mean. Yeah, I don't know. There aren't that many that like, because like what you count as a holiday movie or not gets kind of flimsy. Right. I've seen people consider like if it's about the holiday or not is, I don't know. I would consider Nightmare Before Christmas more like a Halloween movie, but it's also a great movie. Like I would just watch that whenever.
Mm-hmm. That's an incredible movie.
Yeah, man, I should rewatch that one. Actually, it's been a couple of years.
I need to. Yeah. That was like I watched that when I was really young, and that like fundamentally changed me as a person. I watched that Carol.
Oh shit! You're right. Yeah. Yes,
which is like a secret Christmas movie because it's really Christmassy, but then also nothing revolves around Christmas. Loved Carol. Highly recommend if anyone hasn't seen it.
I forgot. Definitely Cate Blanchett's second best lesbian performance.
Yes, and probably Rooney Mara's second best.
Oh wait, what else was she in?
Performance. She's the girl with the dragon tattoo. She's bi.
Oh, nice.
She's not a lesbian.
Yeah. Anyway, for the Holdovers, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I think maybe I'll say that it's closer to a 7 than a 5, but I see the appeal. I just wasn't into it, I guess.
Yeah, and I'll give it a 9, but definitely closer to an 8. In that range, just because it's such a. It's like catnip.
Yeah. Meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow. Now for the greatest jump in tone of this episode, the film that you've recommended to watch from next episode was Faces by John Cassavetes from 1968. One of his earlier films and only the third of his that I have seen at this point.
Yeah, I think it's the 6th that I've seen from him. It's the first movie that he made that's like his style that he'll use from now on. His first 3 movies are a little bit more traditional, and from here on out he goes in his like small feelings cinema verite style.
Yeah, and it doesn't like feel like or it feels low budget and it feels like like an indie movie, but all of the like writing feels really professional and all of the acting feels really professional for as improv as it clearly is. It all feels like a very purposefully made film and very emotional, very heavy.
Oh, very emotional.
Yeah. What was your experience like this, having like seen most of his other films?
So I watched Husbands, Opening Night, Woman Under the Influence, and then Killing of a Chinese Bookie, which are like his ones that are related to this, and then Shadows, which is a different thing entirely. So like, as such a fan of his, I was really interested to see how this movie, which is basically his most important movie, I want to say, not his most famous, but his most like revolutionary.
Really, even more so than something like A Woman Under the Influence.
I think so, because it was at the point, like, Woman Under the Influence, 71, a lot of new Hollywood people were started already. This came out, like, before your Scorsese's. Like, this was the thing that was, like, the indie boom revolution of the 60s that was, like, here's what the real gritty movies are like. And, like, so I think compared to Woman Under the Influence, which is incredible and one of my favorite movies ever, it's a little bit more like seminal to a lot of people. So as someone who loves his work, I was excited to see this, and I think it's just incredible. Like, I can see this midway point between him doing like weird stuff with the camera, like using a lot of POV shots and kind of tracking shots, which he doesn't tend to do in later work. So yeah, I really love this movie.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Not as much as the other two. I guess that's kind of a high bar, but still, I think I didn't necessarily find like all of the situations like as interesting as each other. It's still like, they're all interesting characters, but like at some point it sort of feels like it's keeping me in the ringer for a really long time and not changing up as much as maybe I would want to, but also maybe I'm just like approaching it from the wrong perspective. Like, maybe I should be looking at this more like a slow experimental film, because it was more like that at the time. And like certainly, like it's hard to imagine what this would have been like in 68, or like how, you know, how fucking crazy and disturbing this would have been, even, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I could like not even begin to imagine, like, because there's nothing, like, just in the acting alone, there's nothing this documentary like before this movie, at least not on the level that this movie reached. Because like this got Oscar noms. This was,
yeah, I'm surprised,
not huge, but it was a pretty big deal, especially if you were in the know at the time. Yeah, I think that it feels like the situations go on for a while in this one, and compared to some of his other movies where, like, by the end of Woman Under the Influence, the scenes are like half an hour, but it's like there's so much is built up to them. This one feels like there's less building up and there's more happening. So I think maybe that's where like it stretches out a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it always takes me a couple minutes and then I'm locked into his movies. So.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. As for the actual like characters and situations themselves, they're you know, just pretty interesting on paper. Even still, the ideas that it's looking at with like these really sort of disturbed and unhappy marriages, and these unhappy connections between people who are like very I feel like it's fair to say these characters are very, I don't know what the right word is, sort of blinded by like gender constructs and about themselves and about the other people that they're communicating with. And it's like he mentions Ingmar Bergman and how depressing his films are, but this sort of just like, you know, probably on purpose, ironically, almost reminds me of like the same concepts that Bergman might talk about, just in a very like opposite way. You know, these people are lost and depressed and sad, and it's kind of only their own fault in a lot of ways, but also like not at all. I just don't know necessarily. Wait, continue.
Well, I think I haven't seen a lot of I've seen Persona all the way through. Then like years ago, I've watched like half of The Seventh Seal and Winter Light for some reason. I don't remember them that much, but like Bergman's movies feel very spiritual, and this movie is like the opposite of spiritual to me. Even though I think there's some moments of like, you know, incredible stuff here. It's like very. It doesn't feel like these people are like cosmically doomed as much as they are like just kind of like lost in their own lives and in their own making. And I feel like Bergman did a lot more like more of a. This movie has no conversation with God, and I feel like Bergman's movies do tend to have a conversation with God, if that makes any sense.
Okay, sure, yeah. I don't know, because like when I watch these characters, for as real as they feel, I don't know, they did just sort of have like an air to them, as though they're like, you know, trapped, and that like their situation is just like completely dire. Were there any like specific stories or moments that like you connected with on a really personal level?
I found, I mean, Jenna Rollins is my favorite actor of all time. I think like that's just after seeing her in the Cassavetes movies. So like, I just think she is so compelling, and the way that she feels trapped in a lot of this movie is really compelling, and the way she feels used. So like, that's the one that moved me the most. I also think, what's her name? The wife to the businessman. I feel bad for referring to her. I don't know that. Yeah. Let me see.
Florence?
I think it's Lynn Florence, yeah. And then the actor is named Lynn Carlin. Yes, Lynn Carlin. And it's like her only movie.
I see. Yes. Maria Forrest. Yeah. Okay. Huh. Interesting.
I thought, especially in the second half of the movie, I mean, she is just incredible, and I think her final scene is really tough to watch, and like and just extremely difficult to watch, and really heartbreaking. And so I found her Desperation too. I think both of them just give incredible performances in this movie.
Yeah, that's very true. I don't think there was any performance, honestly, that like stood out to me as particularly poor. They all like work together incredibly well.
Yeah. Seymour Cassel is also is like a bolt of lightning in when he shows up. So
yeah, it's an incredibly respectable, interesting film that I don't necessarily super strongly connect with, or like doesn't it's not the kind of thing that like I've thought about a lot since I've seen it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you like? What was your opinion on because you've seen Opening Night and Run of the Implements, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think is like the differing factor between this movie and those movies?
I don't know. Well, honestly, there's only really like a half-star difference between them. So I still think that they're all great. I think maybe it's just like the concept, like having a bunch of vignettes. Maybe it was harder for me to get attached to the characters rather than like with a full-blown feature length dedicated to one cast and like, you know, one relationship or something like that. Or with like Opening Night, it takes a sort of like meta stance and or not stance, but like it has a meta quality to it. And like with the finale of that film being that movie also sort of like about the celebrity persona and I don't know, maybe it's just like the concept just like doesn't grab me as strongly because it's like very stripped down and earlier, but like I did really like this, you know. It's not necessarily something that I'll think about like a lot, but I very much like I would definitely watch this again at some point. It's you know, kind of a hard thing to sit through, but I would definitely watch it again at some point.
Totally. I can see that for sure. I mean, I think I'm also like I talk about the Holdovers, like New Hollywood stuff is just such a exciting time to me, and I think having this be such a raw form of that also kind of like plays to my interests, and then having it be my favorite director, or like one, you know, probably my favorite director, I don't know, up there, it really just clicks. So I think this is a solid 10 for me.
Yeah, I'm going to say strong 7 out of 10. Might be an 8 on rewatch, but these are the kind of movies that, you know, clearly are made to be sat with for lengths of time, for long lengths of time. But I consider that a good discussion. I do always like hearing your perspective on these films. And I definitely do want to see more of his. Like, what are the other ones? Love Stream and Chinese Bookie and Husbands.
Husbands is so good. That movie is probably even, I don't know.
Actually, which of his favorites do you think is, or which of his do you think is your favorites?
Opening Night for sure. That movie.
Oh yeah, okay.
That movie feels, that movie moves me so much, and I need to rewatch that sometime. But like,
I consider that movie spiritual.
That movie for sure is spiritual. And the final scene of that is where with John and Gina doing improv, or Jenna, is like one of my favorite things put to the screen. I adore that movie so much. Killing of a Chinese Bookie is really underrated too. I think that movie doesn't get enough credit for like how much it predicted crime fiction for the next 50 years.
So that like actually is like a crime movie? Like that's a literal title?
It is it is a literal title. It is
that seems like a very different story.
It's like if John Cassavetes directed a crime movie, so it's like there's a lot of dialogue, and it's about a nightclub owner, so it's a lot about his relationship with the strippers at his nightclub in a lot of ways. But there's a killing of a Chinese bookie involved in the plot in a lot of so.
Fascinating. Okay, cool. In that case, then this is a good episode, and next episode we will do our like favorites of the year list, talk about all the movies that we saw the year, all the shows, do our own awards and whatnot, do our own talk about the Oscars. The episode after that I'll probably have a friend on, but we'll see later. I'll see if that ends up being a thing. Regardless, for next episode, I would like to make a recommendation of a film, but it's hard to figure out which one I want to recommend. I
feel like last week and this week we both, even though I hadn't seen Faces, like we both did ones that we knew we were gonna like.
Oh, sure.
That were favorites. So I feel like let's do something that's like that is a little more uncharted for both of us.
Okay. In that case, I will recommend that we watch and talk about a film that is on the Criterion Collection, and actually, wait, how much time? Do you have like time to watch like a longer movie, or would you rather it be shorter?
I have time, yeah.
Okay. In that case, I will recommend Symbio-Psychotaxiplasm. Take 1 and Take 2 from 1968 and 2005 by William Greaves, which is one of the most unique films that I've ever heard about, that is structurally and stylistically different from anything else I've ever heard of, about a man making a movie and then recording that and then documenting footage around him, and it's put together really experimentally, and it sounds incredibly interesting, and at the very least has a super interesting conversation that can be attached to it. So that's what we'll talk about next time. So go and watch those films wherever you can find them. I don't know where.
They're on Criterion Channel.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And thank you all for listening to this 4th episode of the podcast, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Yeah. And a happy new year.
A happy new year. Go have fun with your family and show them a horrible, traumatic movie. Or not.
Yeah. Have them watch Pink Flamingos or Sallow. Do that.
Yeah. The classic Christmas films. Okay, then.
Mm-hmm. Sallow does have a... anyway. That's... there's a weirdly Christmassy energy to that. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'll recommend that one sometime.
Yeah.
Okay. Goodbye then.
Yeah. Goodbye, everyone.